Well, let's see. I got a couple of pieces of wood here, some plastic, a little bit of cellophane, vase, wine decanter. Oh, some plastic flowers. Aren't those nice? Looks like I'm about ready to have a garage sale here, doesn't it? Well, actually, I'm not. And even though this stuff does look like it's a bunch of junk, it's not junk when it goes into the hands of a creative photographer named Frank Pallo.
I think a lot of us find excitement in doing something from nothing, really. You take the glassware that you find around the house, you take food coloring, and put them all together, and you come up with something that you've created totally, because in doing work of this kind, you have total control of all of the elements in the picture. Everything from the selection of the material, to the lighting, to the composition of the picture through the camera and everything else. And really, you can find everything around the house. In order to do the kind of glassware that we're demonstrating here, I made myself a couple of holders, I guess is the best way. They're just 2 blocks of wood with notches cut into them. And now, once you have the base, then you get some plastic to work with. You can buy some opal glass or opal plastic. It doesn't matter which one you'd use. And some of these are available at discount houses. Some of them are available at lumber yards and things of that type. And you just pick up what appeals to you. That's just about what it amounts to. So then, now you're ready to go to work. And if you're going to make some wine and you want to occasionally use some liquid in there, I don't use the real stuff. I take some food coloring and pour maybe a drop or 2 into a little decanter and get it to the color that it looks as though it'll be appealing when we get our finished results. And that's the bottle of wine. Because we're talking about photographing glassware does not mean that you can't photograph solid objects along with the glassware either, because that's entirely possible, and it depends on the kind of lighting that you're going to use. Now, we're using a very simple kind of lighting setup here. We have one light that uses a plain, ordinary 150-watt reflector spotlight, perhaps the kind you use to light up your backyard or the driveway. And that's put in a floor flange. This is the kind of flange that's used for lighting up mannequins and store windows. Then the other light is a professional kind of a spotlight, you might say, because I think one of those is necessary, but we don't always use it as the spotlight. We put a little black snoot on the front of it because we want to cut down on the amount of light that's going to be illuminating just parts of the picture that we're going to be photographing. And this is all you need. 2 lights, one of them with the floor flange, another one on a stand, and all of the glassware at your disposal, so you can play around and come up with your own ingenuity and see what you can come up with in the way of results. I think it would be wise for you to start out with a low camera angle, because I've found that over the years to be the most effective. By a low camera angle, I mean the lens of the camera is practically even with the shelf where the objects are. And that way you kind of eliminate the background, the separation between the background glass and the shelf itself. And once you have the light back there, you can play around with different filters too. Now, you don't have to use photographic filters for this. Any kind of cellophane or plastic material that has some transmitted powers with it can be used for this purpose. And so you can put the filter in front of either of those lights and change any color in the scene, and we can see what the results will be for that. Now, the multicolored grid is something that I made up myself just at the, well, as a whim, really, because I had a grid. And now, again, this is available at lumberyard. You've seen these grids. They are used for the front of hi-fi cabinets, where you take a piece of cloth and you put the cloth behind it, and this grid kind of gives you an artistic outline in front of it. Well, instead of doing that, I just take different colored pieces of cellophane and plastic and anything I could lay my hands on into the openings on the grid, and then now I can move the grid in front of the light, but in back of the opal glass, and get all kinds of color combinations. And this is exciting. This makes for a lot of fun when you're photographing glassware. If you want to go a step further, you can purchase from, again, one of the department stores or a lumber yard a piece of textured glass. And it could be, again, either glass or plastic. And I'm using the kind that is used for shower doors. You can't see through it very well, but it does transmit light and it gives you a beautiful pattern. And this will change the complexion of the scene entirely. We can use a different version of this same setup, but now we'll put the sheet of textured glass in front of the opal glass and put a flower in back of the textured glass, and this is the result.
Shooting a still life doesn't take expensive equipment. It doesn't take an elaborate setup. The subject matter can be anything you find around the house. And yet,
The results can be beautiful and impressionistic.